Hello and welcome to the Wire Talks. I'm Sidharth Bhatia. Though the BJP presents a picture of irresolute unity, it is not without its internal fissures. Narendra Modi continues to be its supreme leader, unanimously recognized as such, but there is ferment just below him. After Modi, who is the question that comes up, and many names are being talked about, from Yogi Adityanath to Amit Shah to even Nitin Gadkari. Now, reports are emerging in the newspapers about how, after the Kumbh Mela, Adityanath profile has only increased. What exactly is the state of play within the party, and what, if the situation so emerges, will be the transition? Will it be simple, collegiate affair, or will it be a disorderly one? What role will the RSS play? I've got with me Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, a long term observer of the party who has reported and analyzed on the growth of Hindutva organizations. He has written several books, very pertinent books to this subject and in general to Indian politics, among them a biography of Narendra Modi, another, the RSS icons on the right, and three on the demolition of the Babri Masjid, including his last one, the demolition, the verdict, and the temple. The definitive book on the Ram Mandir temple. If you keep this, you don't need to refer to any other book, I suspect. He writes regularly on the BJP and on the Hindutva right wing. Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, welcome to the Wire Talks.
Thank you, Siddharth. Lovely to speak to you once again.
Nilanjan, let me begin by asking you, is
Hmm.
it too early to be talking about a post Modi scenario?
No, it is never too early and it is never too late. You know, or rather, let me put it this way that it is not too early, but it is also too early. The reason that it is too early is because of the understanding that we have that the 75-year-old bar that will come into play in September this year when Mr. Modi puts down his papers because he has turned 75. I do not think that is going to apply to him. So at the moment, unless for reasons which are beyond our you know apprehension at the moment, there is no vacancy coming up in the center at the moment. So the question that after Modi who is largely irrelevant. The question is relevant because at the moment there is no other political party besides the BJP which seems to be in a position to be governing the country or leading the government at least. So the question that who is going to be the prime minister if something happens to Mr. Modi or if he steps down voluntarily also, it is a very important question. You were talking about Adityanath, Mahakumbh, all that a lot of accolades have been heaped on him. Very well organized, despite the stampede, the second stampede in Delhi. So the share is equal. It is also of the union government of not being able to anticipate a very strong crowd surge in New Delhi railway station of people heading towards southeast direction, and also of what really led to the stampede. There are in fact reports which say that on the night of the Mauni Amavasya, it was not just one stampede, but maybe at least one more, if not more, which has kind of been suppressed by the BJP. So, so there are all kinds of questions which are coming up, which needs to be asked. That
I was exactly coming to that. So you anticipated me. The question I was going to ask is that Adityanath's profile has increased is something that I have read in the newspapers. This is not
hmm,
rumor mongering. Of course, that could also be based on speculation. It could be based on several factors. A newspaper report, as you and I know very well, is not a simple affair. It depends who you talk to. But the reports have emerged that his
hmm,
profile has increased, or at least let us put it this way: if one knows a little bit about politics in general and the way it is played in India, you can well imagine a chief minister who's just seen through a hugely successful, uh, massive affair, or at least in his state, whether the credit goes to him or not, in his state, is bound to crow about those achievements. So, what I'm trying to say is this uh, what one could call it, this higher profile is
Hmm.
not merely a figment of our imagination, but has been reported and now will be exploited. So, in that sense, I meant that I did talk about Yogi Adityanath,
Hmm.
but in that sense, I meant that Yogi Adityanath. Now, obviously, the other names have been floating around for a while, in maybe in the speculative market.
Hmm.
So, won't he try to kind of take pole position?
No, he definitely will try to take pole position. In fact, if you actually go back a bit, from the middle of 2017, the year when he became the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, much against the plan of Mr. Modi and his close associates at the center, when they wanted somebody else, Mr. Manoj Sinha, who is now the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir. But at that point, the RSS was still, in a fairly, important and a dominating position compared to what happened in the years after 2019. So they wanted a countervailing force to Mr. Modi, and that is why Adityanath was eventually pushed by the RSS as the candidate to be the UP chief minister, and they got their way. So since that time, 2001, Yogi Adityanath has been, India's Hindu alpha male in waiting, if I can put it that way. The alpha male, Hindu alpha male, was of course Narendra Modi from 2014 onward, especially after he was asked to contest from Varanasi. Uh, from that time onwards, there was actually no challenger to Mr. Modi within the Hindutva sphere, within that section. But Adityanath emerged as somebody who can be more right wing, more Hindutva espousing than Mr. Modi himself could be. So, in the last few years, since 2017, Adityanath, not just in UP, but also in the other country, rest of the country, uh, he has been able to secure support from people who are much more, extreme position, take a extreme position compared to what Modi does normally. It is not to say that Modi is a soft Hindutva peddler. He is a very hard and a very committed Hindutva, believer in the Hindutva idea. But Adityanath has the image of somebody being one up on Modi as far as the Hindutva camp is concerned. So that way, there is a ready support for Adityanath since 2017-18 onwards. And with the end of the Kumbh Mela, it is possible that he like to leverage that. But I would say that this has not yet been settled. Either way, this is a tussle which is going to go on. Mr. Modi is also not going to allow Adityanath to emerge as a potential rival to him, at least till the time that he is in the chair as prime minister.
Yeah, except that, one hears. I was in Lucknow and spoke to a few people, uh, in passing, of course, and they all feel that the chief minister of their state is somebody who has a future, bigger future in politics. So, as far as he has been able to create that impression. I'm sure that his political bosses are fully aware of it. So, but Who would be other potential successors?
So, who would be the other potential successor? All depends at what time does this question come up. Say, for instance, let's take option one. That day something dramatic happens, unexpected happens. And in September, Mr. Modi actually announces that I have turned 75 and now it is, I am putting in my papers. Either he just says that I am putting in my papers or that this is going to be the last few months or the last year that I will be in office. That will open the Pandora's box. Everybody is then going to start throwing their hat in the ring. Adityanath, despite the fact that he has a very solid support base within the ecosystem of the right wing, the biggest drawback to him is that as far as the Hindutva plus vote bank, which is what would be needed for anybody to be a successful prime minister or the leader of the BJP, he is going to be very short on the plus side. I am not very sure that out of the present alliance partners, how many of them would be very comfortable to be seen in the company of Adityanath as far as being the leader of the BJP and the prime minister of the country is concerned. So that is going to be a big problem. One of the biggest factors which actually enabled Mr. Modi to become the prime minister in 2014 was not just the support that he was getting from the Hindutva quarters and people who actually believed in that ideology, but the people that he was able to draw from the middle classes, from the centrist position, who actually believed that he had put his hard Hindutva, the positions of the 2002 Gujarat riots, all that was in the past, that he was no longer committed to the idea of the Hindu Hriday Samrat, that he had actually made a transition to actually becoming the Vikas Purush, somebody who was committed to the idea of development, somebody who is going to bring about fundamental change in the way government functions, who would be able to generate jobs. So a lot of votes which came to the BJP in 2014 was essentially because of the votes which Mr. Modi was able to draw from outside the core voter base of the BJP. That Adityanath would not be able to do it. So, coming back to your question, that who are the other challenges to Modi in the post-Modi scenario? One of them, of course, is going to be Amit Shah, because he's also a fairly powerful minister within the government. There is also Nitin Gadkari. There are also new people who have emerged like Devendra Fadnavis, Rajnath Singh, depending on whether he has a window of as far as time is concerned, because he is also aging. Does not have very many years to turn 75. So there is going to be a fair amount of people who are going to throw their hat in the ring, but ultimately everything is going to depend on the circumstances and the time when the question actually becomes a very concrete thing that we now have to look for an alternative to Modi.
You talked about the plus factor, Hindutva plus, that is allies, middle class, etc. But the internal dynamics of the BJP will also have to factor in regional and social factors, isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
For example, Mr. Modi was from Gujarat, a very, very a state not in the normally one thinks of UP or the Hindi belt.
Right.
Also, he was not a Brahmin.
Yeah, his in fact OBC identity was promoted in 2014, whereas the point is that when Mr. Modi, prior to 2013-14, his caste identity was never, to use the word encashed by the BJP at any point to give him an OBC, image, and somebody who was challenging the, people who, what is now called the Third Front, which has been part of the UPA now. So that was projected. Uh, Adityanath, all said and done, he's a Rajput, he's from Uttar Pradesh. Politically, although he personally was born and brought up in this family in Uttarakhand, Uh, so there are various, identity issues which will be which will be looked at when the next person is to be selected. Amit Shah is a Bania. So the BJP at the moment really does not have anyone barring Modi. Gadkari and Fadnavis both are Brahmins. So beyond the upper caste, there is of course Shivraj Singh Chauhan. We cannot absolutely rule him out because he has a good track record to say, although the charges of corruption go against him. But in terms of the potential successors to Modi, I will say that it is actually within the BJP at the moment more heavy in terms of the standard support base of the BJP prior to 2014, which is actually upper caste based leaders.
I mean, you do remember, I mean, we all do. The last prime minister from the BJP was Mr. Vajpayee, who was a Brahmin
That's
and
right.
was from UP, won the election from Gwalior. So, again, the Hindi belt as well as the upper caste is. So, they may revert to that. Also, another factor is Mr. Yogi Adityanath is not a proper RSS member. He's got his own Nath supporters. So that will also play some, though of course that may be a long behind him, but that may also play a role. A loyalist may demand their point of flesh.
No, I don't think that Adityanath not being from the RSS stable, from the Sangh Parivar stable, is actually become an old thing. It is no longer important because the point is that there is still a lurking suspicion about him. The very fact that the Hindu Yuva Vahini which he floated, sometime in the 2002 or 3, that is the period when it was actually floated by him when he was a member of the Lok Sabha, that is not functioning at the moment, but it can be, everybody knows that it can be reactivated at any point and start working at Adityanath's bidding. He still has complete control on that organization, which is almost like functions like a militia. And it is something which, can be, challenging the RSS at the grassroots level also. The RSS leadership has backed Adityanath for, as a countervailing force to Modi in 2017. And, importantly, we have to also take into account the bitterness between Modi and the RSS leadership, which we saw last year, from about February, March onward, which saw that the RSS did not campaign very actively for the Lok Sabha election, which was one of the reasons as to why the BJP ended up losing their majority and coming down to 240 seats. Thereafter, also the bitterness between the RSS leadership and Modi continued. uh, Mohan Bhagwat kept on making several statements where he did not name Modi, but the target was very clear that they were talking about, people who, who have very giant size egos. It is very important to be balanced. Those are the kind of statements which he kept on making. It was very clear that he was actually targeting Modi. In October, the RSS importantly had its national executive meeting in which the General Secretary of the RSS, Dattatreya Hosable, he made a statement that the statement which had been made by Yogi Adityanath that batenge to katenge, which was actually made in the context of Bangladesh, was actually absolutely correct, and there is nothing wrong with making a statement like that. Uh, that was very important because the RSS was backing Adityanath despite the fact that his statement had been frowned upon within the BJP. Many who were people, leaders who were close to Modi, actually said that Adityanath should not be making such statements. Foreign policy, after all, is something which is the center's realm, and state leaders should not be talking about it, which may affect our relations with neighboring countries. So essentially, at that time in October, when the meeting was held, things had not started normalizing between Modi and the RSS as it has now. So at that point, it was a very polite reminder to Mr. Modi that Adityanath has our support. And that support remains, even though the fact that there is some kind of a temporary truce in the offing, especially after the assembly elections in Haryana, Maharashtra, and in Delhi, which saw that the involvement of the RSS was much greater than what it was in the Lok Sabha elections. So things are very, at the moment, they're still very in a state of flux and fluid. We will have to actually closely observe the situation and this question about uh, after Modi, who will continue to draw us back time and again, even though the fact is that at the moment it does not appear to be certain that Modi is going anywhere.
Um, all said and done, Mr. Modi did lead the party to two impressive victories, and he faltered the third time because of reasons as you have explained. But is there anyone who has this kind of all India appeal at all?
No, at the moment, does not appear that anybody else within the BJP has that kind of all India appeal. But we also have to keep in mind that when Mr. Modi was selected in 2013, there was no guarantee or surety that he would be able to actually get support across the country, as the results finally showed. Initially everybody was talking about the BJP primarily being maximum in the realm of 220 to 230 seats. That is what was being talked about. Very close towards the end of the election, people started talking about 250. Maybe that may be possible. But nobody ever envisaged that the BJP will be able to get a majority on its own, and that to 282 seats. So it was a completely an unexpected victory for Mr. Modi and across the country. And that only kept on rising between 2014 and 2019 when, for a variety of reasons, most importantly, Pulwama, which enabled him to play the hyper nationalistic card and then was able to overcome the challenges which he was facing at the time and win the second time.
No, so you are saying that what I hear is you're saying that he was also untried and untested in many
Yes.
ways, and yet he delivered. So we can't say that not having All India appeal at this stage will necessarily mean that he will not also be able to garner that kind of
Yes,
support.
whoever that person is.
Consider the following factors. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here,
Hmm.
but I'd just like to bring in a couple of other points which
Hmm.
help Mr. Modi know end at that stage. One was the complete and total support of the media. I remember in those days, even in 2013, breathless, high profile TV anchors rushing here and there, and even in the studios, here and there, and covering his meetings with great amount of awe and wonderment. And then in the studios, the questions had changed. That could well happen, but I'm not so sure. And one more very important thing is that though he spoke Hindi, he was speaking it in a way that was, something that could be understood by anybody in a very bombastic and strong way. Uh, and third, most importantly, he did not talk about Hindutva at all. Now, you may say that 2025 or 2028 may demand that Hindutva be higher profile, but beyond Hindutva, to talk of in a language that appeals to the industrialists, that appeals to the middle classes who say, hey, this Yogi Adityanath chap has also changed, or similarly the others. I'm not so sure that anyone has that kind of all India appeal.
No, at the moment, nobody has the kind of all India appeal which Modi has within the BJP, definitely. Uh, if you actually go back, there are 2 points to what you mentioned in the question, which I just like to take up. One is the role of the media. While it is true that the media had started becoming very supportive of the BJP and Mr. Modi personally in 2014, 2024 also established that media houses and television coverage alone does not win elections. Otherwise, they would have got the kind of, target which Mr. Modi has set, that 400 par. It was remotely away from it. They did not themselves cross it, come anywhere close to 350, which would have been needed to cross the figure of 400 for the NDA. So they were not able to do it. So media is okay to build up hype, but as far as the people are concerned, the media really does not influence voter behavior. Second is Hindutva. You said that in 2014, Modi was not talking about mentioning Hindutva. But when 2014, let me remind that the country was not yet fully ready to talk Hindutva. So as a result of which, he did it actually, beneath the surface. Like he would refer to Rahul Gandhi as Shahzade. He would call the UPA government as Delhi ki Saltanat. He would use words like pink revolution, talking about, rising meat export from various states, completely ignoring the fact that Gujarat was one of the highest beef exporters. you know. So it is not that Modi was not, he even talked about, chappan jinch ki chati. You have to know how to actually govern the country and actually keep internal peace. I have done it in Gujarat. You can actually look at, there has not been any riot in the last so many years. Essentially sending out signals, that if you want to make peace, you have to actually have the capacity within you to sort out and tell the Muslims to maintain a low profile and not be very aggressive enough. So at the moment, what has happened, one of the biggest changes that has happened in the decade between 2014 and 2024, that the acceptance of the Hindutva, at least the principal belief, that this is our country, the country of the majority Hindus. The others are welcome to stay here, but then they must actually stay within certain limitations, certain confines. Nobody is talking about disenfranchising them at the moment, or pushing them into the kind of ghettos which are there in Ahmedabad, the Johapura area. But yes, the direction in which India is going, we are all heading in that kind of a directions. In any way, the Muslims have been made electorally not as relevant as they were in the past. We have seen that the BJP also wins those seats where the Muslims are fairly, in fairly large numbers. So there has been a fundamental shift towards Hindutva, and by and large, every leader of the BJP who is going to emerge as the challenger, whether it is Nitin Gadkari, Yogi Adityanath, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Devendra Fadnavis, all have, their pet areas and the issues of Hindutva which they keep on articulating. Somebody a bit more aggressively than the other one, like, Adityanath definitely is going to be much more aggressive than the others. But even the others, at any point, if they sense that there is an opportunity to be, that there are benefits or gains to be made by being a fairly hard-nosed Hindutva leader, then they are all going to turn in that direction, because the basic grooming is in that ecosystem, which has actually spawned the idea of, the dominant Hindu majoritarian politics.
Okay, let's look at the last few years. All the major promises of the BJP have been fulfilled. The temple has been built, Article 370 was taken away, and with that, the special status of the Kashmiris. Muslims have been terrorized, and several legal steps have been taken, at least at the state level. CAA on the national level is on its way, and a couple of more laws. What else is left for the Hindutva project?
You have to understand that any politics which is actually rooted in majoritarian sentiment, there is never a full stop. Those three issues that you mentioned, Ram Mandir, Article 370, and Uniform Civil Code. Uniform Civil Code is half done. It has been introduced in some states, other states which are ruled by the BJP are going to follow suit. They have opted for a different kind of a route for the Uniform Civil Code. Instead of being a top down from the center into the various states, it's coming down from the states to at a national level. So there is progress going on as far as that front is concerned. But what I'm saying is that these three issues, even though they were listed as the three most contentious issues, right from the mid 19, early 1990s to be precise, by when it was actually concretized, and these are the three basic demands. It is not that there aren't any others. Already there are many other issues which have surfaced in the last few years, and a few on which this current government is working at the moment also. Say, for instance, one nation, one election. On the surface of it, it might look like it has nothing to do with Hindutva, but essentially, this is all about finishing off elections. We know as to why the BJP is pushing for it, because it believes that at one point when it eventually happens, if it happens, then it is going to help a dominant party at the central level, even in the states, and that is going to establish a complete national, political and electoral hegemony in the country. The Waqf bill which has been pushed and which is likely to be now finalized and passed in the remaining part of the budget session, that is another directly core Hindutva issue, because the issue is actually to take away the control from the Muslim community, their own various Waqf properties, which has been there for a long time. The issue of conversion, using this anti-conversion law basically as as an argument to say that this is the reason behind that there is an Islamist conspiracy to convert Hindus to Islam and to Christianity. So these are the new additions which have come up. The love jihad law, which they keep on saying, that is also part of that, very much related to the anti-conversion law. So there are numerous issues, and we do not know. These are very diabolical minds. At the moment, you and I would not be able to visualize or anticipate unless we decide to, don the head, the cap of being a fiction writer and start imagining what are the various possibilities which can happen in a completely majoritarian and an authoritarian system. Anything is possible.
Also, one must mention changing the constitution.
Yeah, the constitution is not going to be changed. Like it is, this is my belief in the sense that there is no need to change the constitution. You already have, in the last few years, they have already made several changes in the constitution. For instance, the CAA, the law, it itself, it links up India's citizenship with religious identity, something which is against the basic tenet of the Indian constitution. So it is very much like, this is something which I keep on referring to again and again. It's very much like the Greek, story of the myth of Sisyphus, where the ship, parts get changed, and eventually you reach a state where the philosophical question arises that since all the parts have been changed over the last few years, is this the same ship? So if the constitution starts getting changed, various parts of it, and the BJP also says that there's nothing called the basic structure of the constitution, which goes against the verdict of the Supreme Court in the Keshavananda Bharti case. So then the constitution will remain the same. The cover is going to remain the same, but everything else inside would have changed. And then the question will arise. They will say it is the same constitution, which is the only holy book in the country. That is what Mr. Modi calls it. But then it will be a completely different constitution.
Yeah, but I feel that the two words, secular and socialist, are words that grate on them.
No, they definitely, they came in by an amendment in the during emergency. It's very a matter of good fortune that there was a petition which was, I think, filed by Subramaniam Swamy challenging whether those words could have been introduced in the 42nd Amendment. The Supreme Court has ruled that there is no need to take out those. So let us see what happens as far as those issues are concerned. In any case, the BJP says that we don't disbelieve in secularism, but we believe in genuine secularism. This is something that what Mr. Advani had said, and then he introduced, or rather to say, so he had reintroduced that phrase of pseudo secularism in the Indian political lexicon.
Um, Coming back to the BJP bench to wind up what we have discussed, coming back to the bench, the second rung of leaders, uh, let's put that leader's profile together, imaginary profile. He or she will have to have Modi's appeal. I would vote for he because there's no she on the horizon. This is a particularly masculine party. He or she will have to have Modi's pan India appeal, a trusted second in command like Amit Shah, an ability to work with the bureaucracy, and an interest in the business community and in technology and also in foreign affairs. All said and done, Mr. Modi prides himself on being somebody who can reach out to foreign leaders and sit with them as an equal. And that's quite a package. And that's not going to be a package easy to find. It's not only Hindutva. Okay, coming back to the Hindutva plus, but I'm saying these specific things are critical, isn't it?
No, definitely they are critical, and at the moment there is no single individual within the BJP ranks who is able to meet all these criteria which you actually listed out. There's actually nobody at the moment. The cupboard is completely bare. And even if the names that we have discussed, whether it is Yogi Adityanath or Amit Shah or Nitin Gadkari or Devendra Fadnavis or Rajnath Singh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, there are all limitations. But as I said, that it is only going to become relevant depending on when the vacancy actually comes up. What exactly is the state of the opposition at that time? We do not really know that that there will be so much of a vacuum within the BJP in a post-Modi scenario that suddenly the opposition might galvanize and then do something what happened in 77. After all, nobody visualized, even when Indira Gandhi called for the elections in 77, that she would actually lose not just the majority but even her own seat from Raebareli. So the elections can always, throw surprises. Nobody really believed, when people like us started talking after February last year that the Ram Mandir isn't fetching them any votes. That Mr. Modi's campaign is beginning to fizzle out. That is why he's gone back to a acutely polarizing campaign. And then we started actually saying, that it's quite possible they might end up short of a majority. And that is what exactly happened. So I have tremendous faith in the ability of the Indian electorate to throw up surprises. The opposition has not been able to, continue from, what the advantages they gained in the parliament elections last time. But this is never the end of it.
No, no. In the Indian political system and in a country like India, these things continue. And I am a firm believer, like you, that there is no alternative is a completely bogus thing. The circumstances can change. After all, 1.4 billion people will throw up an alternative one way or the other. It
That's
may be
right.
a very unstable one, but they will throw up. My last tupney bit, Nilanjan,
Hmm.
I bear you to, I request you to hear it out
Sure.
because this is something that I have thought of for a long time. My sense is yes, you're absolutely right. It depends on circumstances, and circumstances will dictate a lot of things. But my conjecture is that one of two things will happen. Either, whatever the circumstances, one of two things will happen. Either the BJP will go into will become shell shocked into not being able to move forward. And related to that, the second part of that is that the party will simply not being able to come up with a name, and that will create internal and external chaos, because Mr. Modi also is somebody who can keep the party together. This is Mr. Modi's party. This is not simply the BJP. It is his party. Everyone has 150% faith in him, in the man, the persona, and the whole thing, the package. And it will not be able to galvanize itself enough to come up with a united front while fighting the elections. Of course, the opposition will have to come together. Of course, all those things will happen. But there is such a thing known as a kind of almost a stasis, where nothing moves, and willy nilly the electorate will throw up the its own version of how to deal with that.
Yes, that is certainly possible. That will throw up, and the electorate is going to find a way as to what can be done. There is just one more, aspect to this entire. Uh, the, the differences between the RSS and Modi. If you actually look at it, what did it stem from? Modi delivered ideologically, so the RSS has no complaint as far as that is concerned. The basic difference between Modi and the RSS is that the RSS does not believe in the primacy of the individual or of the leader, but in the primacy of the organization and the idea or the ideology. Modi believes in the primacy of the individual. It's a Modi centric party. As you said, that this is Modi's BJP. The RSS has increasingly believed after Haryana, Maharashtra, and Delhi that the time has come now where the individual now in an election is not as important as it was in the past, and that the Sanghatan and the Vichar or the idea or the ideology is enough, and there can be anybody there, even a faceless person can be put there, and the idea is strong enough, and votes can be solicited just by anybody through the strength of the organization for the ideology of Hindutva. That is also a possibility.
Well, in fact, that according to what you have said is true, because the RSS was less than enthusiastic in 2024, and see what happened. So it does. That's going to give it. That's going to give it some kind of confidence, or it will be able to say that, look, you still need our support, no matter what, how primacy, how
Yes.
big a man you become as far as the party is concerned. It cannot do without the RSS's support. So the RSS is the X factor.
Yes, it is the X factor, and we'll have to keep a very close watch on the continuing, equation between the RSS and Modi. It is going to have a very, important play and a very important role in various things that we have talked about over the last several minutes.
So thank you so much, Nilanjan. That was a pretty comprehensive view on the BJP, the RSS, and the entire Hindutva uh, ecosystem, as it were. And I mean, I can see your mind working. So another book coming on the way one of these days. So let's see how it. I mean,
Let's see.
this is purely one of those circumstances where one can say the cliche, "Time will tell." But
Yes.
let's see how it unfolds, because I think Indian elections, Indian politics has entered a really, really fascinating phase. And yes, we didn't ask any questions or answers. We didn't discuss about the opposition, but the opposition is going to be a factor more important than ever before. You can see what's happening in Bihar already.
Yes.
So let's see how it all unfolds, and we will know uh, either soon enough or eventually. That was Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, an expert uh, on Hindutva politics with an impressive array of books behind him on the right wing ecology. Thank you, Nilanjan, once again, and we'll be
Thank
back
you.
again next week with another guest on the Wire Talks. Till then, from me, Sidharth Bhatia, and my team, thank you very much.
Thank you, Siddharth.